how much is your residual income this month? He said, 55,000 from revenue share. I said, damn, that would take care of all my bills. I'm in debt. I was $30,000 in debt. I mean, that would take care of my bills and more.
Hi, everybody. This is Jose Luiz Morales. Welcome back to the Morales Group Show. This is episode number 82. Today, we've got a very special guest. His name is John Tsai. He's a real estate agent / investor / eXp mentor out of Vancouver, Canada. One of the top producing agents, world renowned, meaning everybody knows this guy. John Tsai, welcome to the show. John, how are you?
Dude, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And it's an honor and privilege to be on the show. And, big fan of yours, man. And big fan of the show. Thank you. Thank you for providing all the value and just glad to be here.
Vice versa, my friend. I'm happy to be able to call you a friend. So somebody that we obviously stay in touch with. Before we get into the show, I just want to remind our viewers that if you've enjoyed previous episodes, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you've got any friends that might see value in this interview, feel free to share the episode. So I just wanted to start off, John, just by asking, who is John Tsai and how did you happen to stumble upon the wonderful world of real estate?
Oh man, thank you for asking. So I was 21 years old and up to no good, partying all the time. My dad told me that I was going to amount to nothing. And, I got pissed off. I really got pissed off. And, I asked 2 fortune tellers what my life was going to be like. And they both told me, hey, you were going to amount to nothing. And don't even try because you won't even try. And even if you tried, you won't succeed. I said, okay, I'm going to try. So that summer, I was really down on myself. I ran into this gentleman. He was 42 years old, working at the gym in Taiwan. I asked him, man, do you even work? It's like 12 o'clock, summer day. He said, I'm retired. I'm like, how old are you? I'm 42 years old. So what did you do? I own a bunch of language schools and I sold that and I bought a bunch of real estate, and the real estate is giving me a bunch of residual income, and I'm retired. I said, oh, wow, that's amazing. So Will, if you were to give me a piece of advice, what would it be? He said, go read one book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I said, okay, I've never heard of it, so I'll go read it. It was 2002 back then now. And then I read the book. I didn't understand anything but one concept. The concept was that if I bought enough real estate, Jose, that the residual income coming from rentals was going to sustain my lifestyle. So then I don't have to work. I don't have to put out my time and I can still live. And that was the main goal. I said, okay, well, how am I going to buy that much real estate to have me sustain my lifestyle? Okay, how about getting into real estate as a salesperson, learning and also accumulating capital to purchase real estate? So that's how I got in. But from 2002 to 2006, I procrastinated 4 years to get my license. I partied all the way through for another 4 years. I worked retail. It's just up to no good, man. And even when I got in, I was thinking, okay, well, this is my ticket. I earned $2,500 in my first 6 months. Didn't know what the hell I was doing. But simply by being a nice guy, the next full year, 2007, I sold 17 properties. And then I thought I made it, right? And, lo and behold, 2008, guess what happened? It's already started crashing in the States by 2005-06, but 2008 is when it hit us. Mm-hmm. So that year, from going 17 transactions, I went to 10 transactions. But then from the 17 transactions, I spent all the money that I had.
Damn. And
some of the money that I didn't have, I put it on my credit card. So I went out and bought a car for $80,000. And then I went out and I got a ring for my fiance so I can get engaged. So by then I was $80,000 in debt. Does this sound familiar to anybody out there? So that was my journey in the first couple of years. And, lo and behold, I was introduced to these tapes that my managing broker at the time said, hey, you might want to listen to these. Mm-hmm. It might help you. I said, who is this? He said, Mike Ferry. I said, okay, well, I still got a cassette player. So I went and played it. And I was like, okay, well, this guy makes sense. And I had an opportunity somewhere, somehow I got an email, come to Newport Beach, dead broke, $80,000 in debt. Like, where am I going to go? You know what? I'm going to go check them out. I flew out there because my sister lives in San Bernardino. So I was going to visit her anyway. And that seminar, he had me sign up because it just made sense. Right. And, Mike, he was just like, go back there and sign up. If you don't have money, you can't afford to not sign up. I said, okay. I signed up. And he saved my life, Jose. And that's where actually Jose and I met, is through Mike Ferry. And I'm forever grateful for Mike. And so that's my journey in the early years. I don't know if I went on and on, but that's how I started.
I think that's great, man, because obviously you got started with nothing. You read a book, obviously saw potential in the book or what you learned about it. And then obviously you got surrounded by the right people as well too. What did your production look like from the time that you joined, from the time you were not in real estate coaching to the time that you actually transitioned into coaching? Did you immediately become a superstar?
So get this, 2008, when I joined, was September 2008. I said, okay, well, I'm making no sales right now. I might as well go try this. Now, I got hooked up with a coach. I started taking the coaching. I started calling just listed, just sold. Nothing was happening. And it went on for months, man. So exactly 6 months, Jose, into coaching, I had made zero sales. But then I was paying still $1,000 a month. And in Canadian, that's $1,500 a month back then. But I said, I got nowhere to go. I might as well keep at it. And March 2009, from that day onwards, when I did my first deal of the year, I went on to do 33 transactions that year, but in 9 months. So I was like, okay, this works. If I didn't take a listing from a cold call, didn't take a listing from expired or for sale by owner, I knew that the coaching was working because it was accountability and it was energy and it was giving me advice to go about my daily life that had me become relentless in my prospecting. That habit right there, no matter what sources you're calling, it was worth it. So I went from 33, 2009 to 39 in 2010. And I think that's when you and I met. You were just starting out. And, you and I are probably doing around the same, we're still probably doing around the same production right now. But 2011, I went to 51 transactions, went backwards. 2012, I got an assistant. So I went backwards to 45. And then 2013, I went to 59. And then I added a buyer's agent and I went backwards again to 54. But then the next full year, I went to 85 and then 149 in 2016. Then it burned out, just crashed, burned, health-wise, relationship-wise, my marriage, everything just came crashing down. But I made the most money that year up until that time. I made $1 million from selling that many properties, but I neglected everything else. I was a solo agent, right? So so that's when I decided, okay, I must build a team. But I'll stop there.
That's awesome, man. Or not awesome that it crashed and burned, but just watching the whole journey. Let me ask you a question. What did your schedule look like from when you weren't in coaching, and what changes did you make? Because obviously that's like huge. I mean, you went from 0 deals or very little deals to 33. So obviously there was some changes. It just didn't magically happen. What was like your day to day? And I'm thinking this is going to sound familiar for a lot of people. and then what changes did you make?
Well, in 2007 and 8, my schedule was that I would wake up at around 10 o'clock. I would get to the office by 11 o'clock and I would be on Facebook for an hour and I would go for lunch with my colleagues. And then I would come back and I would look at some feature sheets and I would ask my colleagues, what am I doing here? And I would surf Facebook for another hour and then go home by 4 o'clock. Now that worked when the market's good. So if any of you out there that has this schedule right now, you need to stop immediately. And then when I got into coaching, it wasn't the coach that told me that I needed to have a schedule. It was the people in coaching that gave me the example of, oh, hey, what are you doing? So I started to figure out, oh man, you got to wake up earlier. So I woke up 1 hour earlier, 1 week, and then 1 hour earlier the next week. So eventually I started waking up at 7:30. And then I would get to the office by 8:30. And I thought that was pretty good, right? So 2009, that was my schedule. I would prospect from around 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And then I would make about 15 contacts. And then in the afternoon, I still had nothing else to do. So I just, stayed on the phone. Or if I had to do any showings, I would go out there and do showings. But each and every year, Jose, as you and I know, the people up on stage at Mike Ferry, all the top producers, I wake up at 4:30. And I said, shit, I got to do that. So each and every year, I woke up a little bit earlier. And I remember Jose sending me 3 checks, $100 or $500, something like that. And we will hold each other accountable and waking up. And, I don't think we've ever cashed each other's checks because we woke up earlier, right? And the reason why we woke up earlier is because we want that mindset routine and the schedule of a superstar. That's what we wanted to emulate. But okay, I'll stop there because I just answering your question. That was what it looked like waking up at 4:30.
Well, I think it's important because though I think one of the hardest things about real estate and getting into real estate is treating it like a real job. Meaning if you worked at a normal job, they would tell you what time to come in. They would tell you what activities you do at a certain time. They would tell you what time you take lunch. And they would also tell you what time you get to go home. And the challenge that I think a lot of people have is that they don't treat it like a real job, and their family thinks that they don't have a real job. So their family starts, hey, can you run this errand for me? Can you do that? Can you do this? You have all the flexibility. Before you know it, you're not dedicating any time to what brings in business, which is obviously the lead generation. The other thing that I noticed from what you said is there's a difference between being busy with non-productive things and being busy with productive things as well too. So I caught that as well too. What would you say was the hardest thing, or like when you made that trend, or what do you think clicked? Like when you went from coaching no deals to coaching actually doing deals, do you think it was just the time that it takes to get that momentum, or was there anything specifically that you think that kind of just clicked at that point?
I think it was desperation, bro, and not giving up, because I was so desperate wanting to pay off that debt of $80,000 that I had no options. But the thing is, what clicked was I realized that I had no options but to keep moving forward, but to keep like picking up the phone. But a lot of times, a lot of people who maybe have a little bit of debt, right? And then it's manageable. Now I have options because I could either prospect or I could do something else. I could watch Squid Game or I could prospect. But do I really need to prospect when I'm not in debt? Are my goals really that important to me? Maybe not, right? If I don't have anything at stake, if I don't have that desperation, I'm not going to move forward. So from then on, what clicked was I had no options. And going forward, when I was stuck at a certain level of production and I saw the pattern, then I knew that during those times I had options, Jose. When I had no options, when I bought a new home, my mortgage went up, right? And so I had no option but to make more money. And guess what? When I was used to the mortgage payments, then my income stayed at the same level. And then a couple of years later, why am I stuck at 250,000? My goal was 400,000, but I was always stuck here. But I gave myself options. But if you give yourself no options, if you click that, hey, that I have no options but to make more money, then you'll just do whatever it takes to get there. People have too many options, I think.
So it was more of a mindset of like, hey, look, and putting yourself in situations where you have to you have to produce. It was funny. It reminds me of a story that I was like 2 years in the business, and I wanted to go on a trip to South America with some of my buddies. And I don't think I had the money completely to do it, but all of a sudden I had something that I had spent money probably that I didn't have, and my production went up right away
Yes.
as well too, because I had something, I had a certain commitment there as well too. So let's take a so you were doing deals on your own. At what point did you hire like an assistant?
Yes, that's a great question. Everybody, who's at 30, 40 transactions, they're struggling to get to the next level. You must hire a transaction coordinator or an assistant at the 25 deal mark. It just beyond that, you're going to have no life. So I went to 51 deals, then I burnt out at that level, doing 51 deals myself with no help on paperwork, submitting deals, submitting listings, going out and putting a sign on the yard. Like, that's craziness, right? So doing 51 deals, I probably should have hired at 25. And at 50 deals, I probably needed some other assist, not a full-time assistant, but like a runner or something like that. And then once you get to 75, then you need to have that first buyer's agent. I'm hearing right now, nowadays, that people are hiring buyer's agents at 40 deals and one assistant. And I think that's okay, because you need to have a life, God damn it.
Well, I think what's important too is like, yes, you can make a lot of money, but then if you have no leverage, meaning if the business can't run without you, then it's kind of like, why am I doing all this for? It's sometimes better to take less in profit, but have a better lifestyle as well too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then what about don'ts? Like, what about what not to do? Like, did you ever hire somebody that maybe it didn't work out, like an assistant, or did you hire like a buyer's agent that didn't work out? And are there any lessons there that maybe our viewers can learn from at that point?
Yeah, I would say hire slow, fire fast.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of times when we hired, I was lucky to have my first assistant stick with us for now almost 10 years.
Wow.
Okay. And every second assistant after that, it was painful a lot of times, because we just took whoever came in the door that felt right.
Mhm.
We didn't have an interview process. So, I know you have a lot of playbooks. I know you know how to interview, in stages and whatnot. If you have no playbook, make your own playbook on how to hire a buyer's agent, how to hire an assistant. Make them take the DISC test, right? And make sure that you guys are a fit, right? And earlier on in 2016, 17, when I first started to build a team, no disrespect to the guys if they're hearing this, that they're more drivers and they're more go-getters, a little bit of an ego. And I hired them as buyer's agents, right? And started clashing because they wanted their own identity. They wanted their own thing. And however, back then, me as a team leader, this is a don't, me as a team leader was like, I'm the boss. What are you talking about? You wanting to have your own shit, right? It doesn't work because it's a John Tsai group. Hello. Like, this is mine, right? And so I think that's a don't. And now thinking back through so many leadership courses and everything, you know what? A do is serve your teammates, your assistants, your buyer's agents, listing agents, like your best clients.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, we work for them.
Yeah.
They don't work for me. This is our business. This is not my business. If I think of it that way and I'm serving them, if I have a raving fan culture inside the organization, then it just like spreads out and all of our clients get the same treatment because I'm treating my people like that. It's not like, hey, I'm the boss, you go do this, and this. If you don't do it right, I'm going to get on you. And if you don't do it, I'm going to go and do it myself, that type of thing. And I always ran it like that. So don't do that. And do be a servant leader, and do hire slow and fire fast, and do be in communication if you feel that something's going on with them. Yeah. Right? I just want to pull you aside. Hey man, is everything okay? Like, I care about you. You know what I mean? And I never did that in the past. I'm just like, oh, if they're not having a good day, fuck them. This is my business. Like, get out of here, go and prospect, do your 50 contacts, then come and talk to me. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
don't do that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So I think it's different skills as well too, because like you learned really well how to prospect, how to generate business, obviously how to make a lot of money. But then as you grow your team, it requires different skills. It
Yeah.
requires grow as an individual. You know, it requires that you become a better leader, that you have better systems as well. To what clicked? Like, why did you start building a team? Like why?
I think it was out of necessity at first,
Uh-huh.
Jose. And then Mike always told us, you know what, build a team, not to get business, not to create volume, but to service the volume.
Mhm.
Right. And I was like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, because on my level of customer service started going down if I was just one man. Right. You walk into a dental office, you're not going to have the dentist, schedule your shit and then go back and clean your teeth and then do the x-rays and all that, clean your teeth, put on the fluoride, all one person. That's not possible. Right. But I was like that. Right. So then I started to figure out, okay, if I wanted to have better customer service, I must build a team. So that was the first thought. That's why I started to build a team. And then, Jose, then it was ego, bro.
Yeah.
It was like, I'm the team leader. I'm the boss. You work for me. You know what I mean? Then it went all wrong, and then it blew up because of that.
Well, let me ask you this. A lot of people struggle, bro. And where they struggle a lot of times is making the jumps, like meaning taking the leap of faith. Like a lot of agents struggle jumping into coaching. That's their first big leap of faith. Like, oh my God, this is $1,000 a month. Then a lot of times people struggle to hire their first assistant because it's a leap, not a faith, but it's basically a commitment that you're making. I remember, John, when I signed up for coaching, I wasn't like you where I walked down by myself. I had Jim Gilday, which we both know,
Wow.
grab me and take me to the back and said, "You're signing up." At that time in my business, I was making $30,000, which means $12,000 a year, $1,000 a month, represented like 33% of my income.
Oh my goodness.
But even now, like as I made larger commitments now, I'm like, well, I invested 33% of my income back then in myself, and that helped me grow. Why don't I just continue that same pattern at bigger levels? The only problem is that 33% is a much larger number now, you know? But
Yeah.
I was going to ask you is like, what fears did you have at those levels? Like when you hired your first assistant, was there any fear there? And if so, how did you overcome it? When you joined coaching, was there any fear? And then also, like, have you transitioned, what are some of those fears that, or maybe like limiting beliefs that you've had that you've been able to overcome?
That's a great question. Great question. Massive amounts of fear. I didn't hire in 2011 because of fear. I'm like, what if I can't keep up with my production and I have to pay, $3,000 a month to this person? Right. And then when I made the jump, it was out of desperation. I hired way past when I needed to. Right. It was like working 7 days a week. I'm like, okay, well, I can no longer actually physically do this. I must. So I always tell people, you know what, hire before you need it.
Yeah.
With the buyer's agent, you got to hire before you need it. If you need it, you're at a point of desperation. You might make not so good decisions about hiring because you need them.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it massive amounts of fear. My first buyer's agent, I was like, oh shit, how am I going to do this? Like, if I were to hire this person, I don't have anything to give them. If I can't give them leads, what value am I providing them? That's also another fear, another level of fear. I'm a very fearful person, Jose, just full disclosure. And it always had to come down to desperation for me to take action, which I don't think is the right way to go about life. But it just worked out that way. And I can tell my story like that and hope that when we share this type of thought, that people can move past that a little bit faster.
Yeah.
Because I struggled through it and there was a lot of pain
Mm-hmm.
because of it.
Yeah. No, I think it's important. Not only that, but like I'm sure that there's people in your shoes as well where they're doing that. So let me ask you this. What motivates you, bro? Are you motivated by pain or pleasure?
Definitely 100%, 1000% by pain and fear. Like, today I had a mastermind call with, my group, and it was like the whole call just really came from fear because I asked a question, posed a question, what if real estate was taken from us? What if this lottery ticket of selling real estate was completely taken from us? What if our rev share all of a sudden went to zero? Well, then what are you going to do? So our topic was, about income replacement, but it solely came from fear, right? But how are you going to use that fear to move yourself forward to produce results versus how you're going to, have fear hold you back from taking action?
Yeah.
So it's about using that fear and taking action anyway. So I'm 100% motivated by fear, but it has to be a fine balance, because if it's fear and then it's creating anxiety and inaction, then you're going the wrong way.
The whole
Right.
thing is to use it to propel you to take action based on something, which is the good thing. Cool, man. What does your real estate team look like now?
So I just hired on an agent, brand new. So he will be number 13 on the team. I have still 4 part-time agents, and then I have 9 of them that's full-time, and then I have 2 assistants full-time, and then 1 virtual assistant in the Philippines. So I'm mostly out of production, meaning I don't do any appointments anymore, but I still stay on the phone to connect with my clients. So I still talk to 10 of my past clients per day, and I still enjoy it. I still enjoy it. And then, I'm still creating that income. So, if I give away a good lead, a past client center of influence, and give my partners, my buyer's agents, 50%, I'm happy because they're making money. I'm making money, but I'm not, going out there hustling anymore. I'm not doing showings in the rain, which, thank you, my partners. If you are out there grinding, I love you all.
Yeah. Well, I think you've worked your way up there, like meaning that it's not something that the position that you're in now is not something that just magically came to you. It's something that obviously required a lot of work and discipline. You said something earlier on that I wanted to dig in. You said that at some point you were forced, like once you did 100 and some deals, that you neglected everything basically, and that everything almost fell apart. Do you mind kind of, if it's not too personal, like elaborating on that a little bit?
Yeah, so my marriage was falling apart. I was constantly going out. I would work on average 12 to 14-hour days, and then, presenting offers, writing contracts, taking listings. And after that, I'd be so stressed out, didn't want to go home. So I would go out and call my buddies and go have a dinner and have a brewski or two, and it turns into a night of a rager. And it's on a Tuesday night, right? And then I would still wake up at 4:30, half drunk, hungover. I would do the whole thing all over again. And guess what happens, after a year or two of doing that? Your wife hates you,
Yeah.
right? And then I never saw my mom be like, my mom, I'm too busy. Like, dad always wanted me to be successful. So why don't you just let me do my thing? Right? I would actually not even take her call sometimes. I would end her call. So my relationship with my mom was going down the drain. My relationship with my wife was going down the drain. And, I had to, I could say that I was probably an alcoholic, and, experimental drugs here and there as well. So kids, don't do drugs. Say no to drugs. But, I had to clean myself up. At a certain point, I felt something weird in my body, and I went and got myself checked. I almost had, high uric acid, almost gout. And it was just, my energy level was down. Even though I was working out 7 days a week, I was still in bad shape. You know what I mean? And so that, made me realize, okay, what am I doing this for?
Mm-hmm.
Then I started to realize, man, it was all ego. I want to build a team up to, 5 agents so I could do 150 deals. I could make $1 million a year, become top 10%, top 1%. And then my family life is falling apart.
Yeah.
Right. So, then I started to switch my priorities, and building a team became a different thought. And selling real estate became a different thought. It was all about working to live my life, not living to just work so I can fulfill my ego, become a top producer, top team leader. Right. I think I veered off course. That's just answered the question.
I think it's good, bro, because I think a lot of people imagine that selling 100 homes a year is like the golden rail, meaning like, oh, you're super profitable because you're making $1 million in income. Yet, if you don't have an assistant, if you don't have buyer's agents, if you don't have people to delegate it to, it can be stressful, extremely stressful. It can lead to you doing other things, and it's just a cycle. So I'm always interested to see, like, okay, at what point do people make the transition? It sounds like it was also one of those things where you were forced to do it as well too. Yeah. Otherwise, like something like could have gone wrong medically, or maybe you could have lost your marriage, or just different things. And the key to it is, for most people, is to try to do it before you get to that point. Like if possible, try to do it before you get to that point. At some point, John, and this is not the eXp show whatsoever, but at some point, you were one of the first pioneers that I remember towards the eXp. Why did you switch to eXp at that point, and what did you see? Like what did you see? Because I don't think a lot of people saw what you saw at the time that you saw it. Now, it's like, obviously the stock is up. People were raving about it. It's done miracles for a lot of families financially, but you were early on. What did you see? And do you regret that decision as well to join eXp?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question, by the way. I mean, it's absolutely changed our lives, my family life, my financial life. In 2017, so, after doing 149 deals, completely burnt out. And then January 1st, I was like, can I do this again? I did it again, 137 deals. 2018, I went down to like 99 deals, but the volume was like 126 million. So 1.48 million in commissions that year. Still grinding, still burnt out. And by that time, we were doing separation therapy, meaning we're done, like my wife and I. And so I said, okay, you know what? We worked through it, and then we recommitted to the marriage, and then she got pregnant. So I'm like, okay, let's get this together. Let's get it together. I can no longer sell 100 properties myself. Physically, I'm falling apart. Okay, let's start a brokerage. Before I started brokerage, I went to my broker owner. I said, hey, Chris, I love you. Like you've been great to me all these years. You've brought me whatever I have today. I'm forever grateful. Would you give me some equity of the company? Or would you give me some revenue share for me training the agents, the ones that I bring in? He said, oh, let me work it out. And then nothing came about for a year. So I said, okay, well, Chris, I want to be really upfront with you that I am going to start a RE/MAX. And with RE/MAX, they promised us 3 things. If you were to invest $500,000, John, you would get 3 things. Number 1 is you'll build equity. If you were to start a franchise and sell it 15 years down the road, you have equity to retire on. I said, okay, great. Because we've been renting our brokerages all these years. I want to own my brokerage now. Number 2 is if you were to recruit some agents and help them become productive, there's revenues to be shared with RE/MAX. I said, okay, I could do that because I was a Mike Ferry coach. And number 3 is that we're going to give us a lead generation platform at $1,200 a month. It's called KB Core with RE/MAX locally here as well. I said, okay, fantastic. Let's do it. Me and 3 other partners, one of them was Blvd, who you know. And Bill said, yeah, it's only $125,000 each. Let's do it. I said, I got no money, Bill, but I'll get a loan for it. We went on for another, I would say about a year in talks. And then before we jumped in, he said, let's check out eXp. I'm like, what the hell is the eXp? He said, John, you wanted 3 things from RE/MAX. I said, yes, revenue share, stocks, or equity, and then a lead generation platform. I said, yes. So Remax is going to cost 500,000. If eXp is going to give us that, how much is it going to be? 200,000? He said, get this, $199. It was like straight out of a fucking infomercial. I'm like, this is bullshit, right? And guess who he hooked me up to?
Who?
Haas Pratt.
Really?
Haas Pratt is like an infomercial and walking infomercial. So we got on a call with him, like, this is definitely a scam, bro. No disrespect to Haas Pratt, the listing boss. Read his book. He is an absolute boss. I love Haas Pratt. But I'm like, man, this isn't real. And then he got me hooked up with another guy. And then I said, okay, it started to make sense. So I said, okay, I think I'm gonna go do it. Because what I gotta lose.
Yeah.
But then Bill says, this took the confidence out of me. Bill said, you know what, John, I'm actually gonna go ahead and keep with Remax. I said, oh, wow, man. So what am I gonna do? So then I decided, okay, I'm not gonna do Remax. So I'm gonna go this way, but I still had my doubts. And then Steve Merritt from also MFO, he said, why don't I hook you up with these guys? Christian Bear, Brent Gove, Gene Frederick, and Rob Fleck all talked to me. Separate calls, and Cliff Freeman. They all said, John, you know, you're one of those guys that may attract a lot of agents. And I know you would because you're an influencer in your community. I said, hey, yeah, but I don't know if I could be like you. And Cliff Freeman was the last one I talked to. I remember this plain as day. We were actually on the 10 freeway going down San Bernardino, right? And I was on speaker with Cliff Freeman, and Crystal, my wife, was in the back. And I said, Cliff, I don't know if I could do this, but let me ask you this. How much is your residual income this month? He said, 55,000 from revenue share. I said, damn, man, that would take care of all my bills. I'm in debt. I was $30,000 in debt. I mean, that would take care of my bills and more. I said, let me think about it, Cliff. November 2018, right when I get off the phone, Crystal in the back, she said, you need to get involved now. And as a good husband does, that day I signed the contract with eXp. I said, you know what, wife, if we do this and we fail in 6 months, we could always go back to Remax with Bill. We could always go back to Rennie. And, you know, 2018, we were working 12, 14-hour days still, 7 days a week for the most part. And today, Jose, I'm glad to say that I can spend time at home with the girls. I got 2 girls, you got 2 boys, and congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
Bro, 4 days a week, I work in real estate, and it's about 4 hours a day in real estate sales right now. And I'm able to do that because number one, we are just short of 7 figures in stocks, and we cashed out $100K last year to pay off everything. Number two is we're right around $50,000 residual income every single month, which two and a half years ago, Cliff Freeman was telling us 55,000. So we're there. So everything they promised, it happened. Yeah. Right. And, you know, today I'm just forever grateful. This is not an eXp show, but I just got to say it's absolutely changed my life. Freedom, options, and choices right now are available to me because of it. So I can't say enough about it, but I'll shut up right now. But
it literally changed your life, bro. Like it changed your entire life. It's funny because I had heard about eXp maybe like 2-3 years ago, and I basically said, nah, I'm too busy. I'm too busy selling properties. But then I had kids, and I was like you, where I was producing a lot, but then I was busy selling a lot of homes. And then I started thinking about, okay, how can I make money with it coming more on a residual basis? And I already have a decent real estate portfolio, but how can I make more? So yeah, very similar path. I'm glad that you did it. Good, man. The last thing I just wanted to ask, is there anything else that you think would add value to our viewers? Anything that maybe any advice for somebody watching out there, maybe somebody that's out there? And then the other thing that I wanted to make a note of is, just because somebody's making a lot of money in commissions, that does not mean that they've got it all. That doesn't, just so the viewers to see, it doesn't mean that they've got the perfect marriage. They may drive the nice cars, they may have this, but I'm glad that you're kind of sharing this, John, because it gives people like an idea, like, wow, John's like one of those agents that was on stage, and at some point, like, he was close to calling it quits on multiple areas, you know? And I think it's important for people to see that because, yeah, it's important for people to see that just so that they don't imagine like, hey, look, everybody's got their life so perfectly planned out. So any last tips of advice for our viewers?
Bro, nothing super practical, but I would just say this: never give up.
Mhm.
There's multiple times in my career that I wanted to give up. When I was $80,000 in debt, I wanted to give up. Bro, when I didn't do a deal in 2010, in like 3 months, I wanted to give up. And multiple times in my career, I wanted to give up. Even 2017, bro, January 1st, I said, I give up. I quit real estate. I can't do it anymore. Like, this is not sustainable. So, I'm glad that I didn't give up. And I want to tell the audience today that if you are going through a bad time right now, man, just keep moving forward. Keep moving forward and good things will happen, right? If you never stay still, like you'll always move forward. And guess what? If you don't stop, you are then literally unstoppable. Just keep moving forward. I believe in you. Jose believes in you. And man, like I just want to see everybody succeed. And I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, well, I think too about the don't stop is reach out to people that have been through that situation where you're going through, and reach out to somebody like John, reach out to somebody like me, somebody who has done 100 deals a year, reach out to people that have now making a lot of money in residual. Because sometimes like people, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. So at some point, don't stop, but sometimes you got to take a little bit of a right turn and then a
Yeah.
left, and then boom, you're back on the road. So sometimes you got to deviate a little bit to get to that path. Or for somebody like you, I mean, like you've got to talk to the right people and get connected. Like Mike Ferry made a change in your life. Then it was obviously the EXP mentors and different mentors along the way. So that's what I'd like to end the show with. Just make sure that you're connecting with people that are where you want to be. Have them mentor you, and then just listen to their advice. Because I'll give you one more thing. For me, John, I thought about opening up my own brokerage as well too at some point. I think mine was in 2015 or 16. And I went to 3 brokers at Mike Ferry and I said, "You're a broker, you have your own company. I'm doing this amount of production. Would you recommend that I open up my own broker?" He said, "Don't do it, run away from it." And I was like, okay, maybe I'll talk to somebody else. I talked to Greg Harrelson, was one of them. Then I talked to Michael Young and I said, "Hey, Michael, you own your own brokerage. Like great job. You're keeping more money." He said, "Don't do it. Stay where you're at." And I was like, why are all these people that own brokerages telling me? And what they were trying to tell me is that the brokerage is a very tough business because of the low margins, and
Hmm.
then the retention of the agents. And what they told me is the money's not in the brokerage, the money is in selling real estate. That's what they were telling me
Yeah.
at that time. So I was like, man, but it's reaching out to the right people at the right time and then following their advice at that point. Not owning a brokerage was one of the best decisions that I made at that time because it allowed me to stay in production. And now, obviously, with eXp, you can almost own your own brokerage without having to have any of the systems in place that eXp basically has in place for you. So, yeah, I appreciate you, John. Obviously, I appreciate you having being on the show. For all of our viewers, this was episode number 82. This is the Morales Group show. We had John Tsai from Vancouver. John, if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way for people to do that?
Man, I am a social media addict. So, follow us on Instagram and TikTok. I'm always on there. And thank you. My TikTok mentor, Jose Luiz Morales, right here, man. Thank you. Thank you for having me today. I just want to commend you, bro, because you were the one who blazed a trail for us, and you were the one who sought out the mentors faster than all of us did. And I was just happy to get along the ride to be with you. So thank you immensely for all that you've done for us.
Thank you, man, for everything that you've done. Obviously, you're an inspiration to many. So we'll stay in touch, man, and talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.